We know that before the arrival of DBMS, people used file-based systems. There are many disadvantages with file-based systems. That's why DBMS came into existence. Think about our college as an example. In our college, we have office, we have some scholarship section, we have library, right? In file-based system, what happens is each and every department or each and every block, they will maintain their own files. What do they store in the files? They store the details of students. For example, office. Take our college office as an example. In that college office, for example, if they are maintaining a file with the following details, the student name, the student date of birth, the student Aadhaar number, and address. All these things are needed by the office. Then think about library. In library, what do they need? They need student registration number, student name, how many books they have taken, and at what time they are going to return the books, how many books they have to return. All these things are maintained by library. Scholarship section, there what do they need? They need all the fees details, student name, student number, registration number or other number, then how much fees the student has paid, and is there any due, what is the due date. All these things are maintained by the scholarship section, how much scholarship they are getting. So all these things are maintained by scholarship section. Think about this example: three different departments and three different files, and at the same time there are three different programs, application programs, which are written in C or C++ or Java. And what is the problem with this approach? The problem with this approach is duplication of data. In the office, they are maintaining student name, number, address, other number, like that. In the scholarship section, they are also maintaining the same fields, the same data. They are also storing some extra data. In library, the basic details are common for all these three departments. So what we can say is the data is duplicated. This is what we call data redundancy. And not only that, there are some other problems like data inconsistency, data isolation. So all these things we are going to see in this class. And also we will see different types of DBMSs, the classification of DBMS we call it. And then we will see the disadvantages of file-based approach. Then we are also going to see the DBMS approach, how these drawbacks or how these disadvantages are overcame by the DBMS approach.
Today, we are going to see the classification of database management systems. Then we are also going to look at the drawbacks of file-based systems and how the database management systems overcame the drawbacks of file-based systems. And finally, we'll also looking at the advantages of DBMS. So these are the things which we are going to cover today. Then in the classification of DBMS, DBMSs can be of two types. One is passive DBMS, second one is active DBMS. As the name implies, passive DBMS, it stores the information and whenever we want, it gives us the information. But active DBMS is not like that. We'll see the definitions. In passive DBMS, what happens is the users query the database and retrieve the information which is currently available in the database. Means we can store the data in the database and we can retrieve the data whenever we want data. It gives us the data. That is passive. And application programs define and update the data in the DBMS. Application programs means the programs which we write with C language, C++, or Java. Such programs can define the data, and at the same time such programs can update the data in the database management system. So it is the simple type of database, passive database. Then comes the active database. Active databases are what we call, they are data driven, and at the same time they are event driven systems. Then the scope of a query in a passive DBMS. Here the query means it's like a question, right? We send a request to the DBMS and it gives us the information. That's what we call it, query. Then the scope of a query in a passive DBMS is limited to the past and present data, whereas the scope of a query in active DBMS additionally includes future data. This point tells us the difference between passive DBMS and active DBMS. In passive DBMS, what happens, it gives us the data. What data it gives us? The past and present data. Whereas in active DBMS, it also includes the future data. It is doing some analysis work and it is predicting something, it's doing something, right? Then example is, an inventory database may automatically reorder goods when the level of inventory falls below a certain level. What does it mean? In active DBMS, what happens is event driven systems, meaning is it responds, it actually responds to a instruction or a signal from a sensor, external input. What is this? External input from a sensor, it gets a signal and it does some work. It is active, not passive. It is active. Inventory database may automatically reorder goods. For example, in some online marketing or online shopping systems. For example, if there are 10 boxes, 10 tiffin boxes. For example, if you are trying to buy some tiffin box, basically if there are 10 tiffin boxes, then if all the tiffin boxes are sold, then what happens is, then it automatically reorder the goods. What it is doing, it is doing some work. It is counting how many tiffin boxes are there, or like that. It is decreasing the count, and when it reaches zero, it automatically reorder for what? For those tiffin boxes. Like that, active DBMSs are event driven DBMSs. Now let's look at the file-based system. This is the slide which we already discussed in the previous class. File-based system was the predecessor to the database management system. So before the arrival of or the advent of DBMS, people used file-based system, which is a very simple way of storing the data. This is a sample data file. Now, in a file-based system, application programs perform services for the end users. Just now I told you application programs means the programs which we write, C and C++ and Java, right? By using these programming languages, we write programs. Those are called application programs. Then each program defines and manages its own data. Here I gave one example. Let us take our college is an example. So take our college as an example. In our college we have library, right? In our college we have scholarship section. Here they are maintaining one data file. The name of the data file is fee paid dat. What is this? Fee paid dat. It is a data file. What are the fields in this data file? They are storing some name, they are storing some your class, your section, your Aadhaar number, then how much pay you have to pay, what is the payment date, then how much fees is pending. All these things are necessary for scholarship section. That's why they are storing all these details here. And there is a program, there is a C program which deals with this data. Similarly, here in the library, they are also storing some information like your name, your class, section, other number like that, book title, what is the date of issue, date of return. They are storing the information in the data file. Then to work with this data file, they have another C language program. Have you observed these two sections, library section and scholarship section? They are storing the details of students. If you have observed, here we can say that up to this one, these four, the first four, and here the first four, name, class, section, and other number. Here same thing is are repeated here. So what we can say is duplication of data. Here and here they are maintaining the same student detail. Instead of saving in a single file, they are storing in two different files. Now here, just now I told you that example, right? You can think of that example. Here one department, they have a file, another department, another file, another department, another file. Here they have application. Here application means what? Our C language or C++ program. Then there are certain users which they use this program, application one. Think about our college as an example. Our college office, separate C program, office people, they use it. Then library, separate application, library people, they use this. Then here scholarships or fees, they have some application program. Then there these three users are different users. This is what file based approach is, file based system is. Now, what are the problems with file-based system? Here, these are all the problems. One is duplication of data. In two places, the same information is almost, same information is saved. Then data dependency, then incompatible file formats, separation and isolation of data. Let us see all these things one by one fastly. First one, duplication of data. How data is duplicated? We just saw the example, right? Duplication means same data is stored more than once. Same data, student name, other number, class, parent name. So all this, some data is same for all the files. This can also be termed as data redundancy. So in database language, what we call it? Redundancy. Redundancy means duplication. Redundancy means duplication. Same data is stored in multiple places. Then it leads to wastage of storage space. It leads to wastage of storage space because same data is stored in multiple places. Then which also in turn increases the cost. Then duplication of data leads to loss of data integrity. We will see one example to understand this loss of integrity. Now here our college office, they are maintaining one file. What they are storing? They are storing your name, class, address, and some other details which are specific to our college, which are important to our college office. Now here our department, computer science department, here also name, class, address, and other details are stored. Remember, this is a file based approach. Each and every department is maintaining a separate file, and separate users are there for this department. Now for example, if somebody have changed their address, have changed their address, now what should they do? They should change the address here, and they should also change the address here. They should change the address in some other department. They should go to some other department and they should change their address. So in multiple places they have to go and change their address. For example, if they have changed their address here, okay, good, they forgot to go here and they did not change their address. Here old address will be there, right? So that's what we call data inconsistency. Inconsistency means data is showing something here, and it is showing something here because it is not updated. So this is the problem with file based approach. One problem. Next, data dependency. The application program depends on the data. Application program means our C or Java program, it depends on the data. Then if we modify the data, then the application program has to be changed. Yes, there is a dependency between program and data. Do you know these two are two different things? One is the program which you are writing is different, the data which is stored in the file is different, but these two are dependent. If the application program is independent of the storage structure, then it is called data independence. See, we are talking about two things here. One is data dependency and the second one is data independence. If program depends on data, it is called data dependency. If program is independent of data, then it is independent data independence. Data independence is generally more flexible than, but in file based system there is program data dependency. So these two are dependent on each other. Incompatible file formats. For example, every file ends with an extension, right? .dat.c or something like that. Sometimes the structure of the file are different in different programming languages. For example, the structure of the file generated by Fortran, some other programming language, Fortran, is different from the structure of a file generated by C program. So the structures, they themselves, they are becoming different in different programming languages. That is another disadvantage with file based approach. Next, separation and isolation of data. In file based approach, data are isolated in separate files. So that's what we are discussing now. Here data is separated. In office, one file they are maintaining, right? In library, another file they are maintaining. In computer science department, another file is getting maintained, and in some other, for example, sports department, they are maintaining one file. Then what we can say, we can say that data is data are isolated here, isolated and separated. So they are having stored in various places, right? So data is separated. Then what is the solution? Solution is go to the DBMS. In DBMS approach, same data are being shared by different application programs. So this is DBMS. Where same data is being stored by different application programs. This is one application one. This is a program, another program. Of course, users may be different, but the data are stored in a single place. So it is getting shared. So there is no problem of redundancy or inconsistency, or nothing will be there in DBMS. Almost all of them are reduced. Have you observed the difference? What is this? This is file based approach, where files of application 1, files of application 2, like that. But here we have DBMS. Then here all the applications, they are sharing the same data. Okay, thank you.